Will the council please come to order, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Anderson,
Present.
Oliver,
Here.
Ford,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Mattingly,
Here.
Sutphen,
Here.
Watson.
Present.
We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the Vice Mayor please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin this evening with the consent agenda, and the first item on that is the approval of town council minutes for February 20 and 27. Second item is ordinance 2047, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Blacksburg, Virginia, authorizing the issuance of its general obligation capital improvement and refunding bonds, Series 2024. Our action there will be to introduce the ordinance and to schedule a public hearing for April 9. Ordinance 2048, adopting the budget of the town of Blacksburg for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and June 30, 2025, adopting the real estate tax rate and appropriating funds for the fiscal year. Again, we will schedule the public hearing for April 9. Ordinance 2049, amending Blacksburg Town Code Sections 18201, 18400, 24301, 24306, 24314, and 24602 to increase fees for water and sewer services and meter fees. The public hearing will also land on April 9th for that. Ordinance 2050 to amend the fiscal year 2023 and 24 operating budget to appropriate $2,500,000 of bond proceeds to the General Capital Improvement Fund. We will introduce the ordinance this evening and schedule that public hearing also for April 9. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Oliver,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mattingly,
Aye.
Sutphen,
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Aye.
We have no public hearings this evening, but we do have a regularly scheduled citizen comments section. And so I invite anyone who would like to speak up to the podium here. Please state your name and your address. And our clerk will be recording that. So please state it clearly. And the little flat bit there is a microphone.
Hello, my name is Andy Stager. I live at 6355 Quartz Lane, and I want to speak here tonight in support of a ceasefire in Palestine and to call for a resolution of the town of Blacksburg that would be put out and supported by the town. So I have a call to action and a poem to read for you. Content warning on the poem. This is part of the anger and grief that I can't hold inside any longer about what's happening in Gaza. So if you are sensitive to any strong imagery, I just wanted to make that statement first. The poem is called In Our Global Theater. Broken bodies lazing in a broken theater. Under the stage, an orchestra warms up for the national anthem. Broken strings scrape a broken tune. Chipped and dented horns sing off key. The owner of broken hands glares through a scratched and jagged window above the scene, pushes shattered glass buttons and turns twisted knobs and stares silently into the audience. Silently into the audience. Sliding cracks in the concrete steps leading from the balcony, like a stream Mother River, his red life joins the flow steadily from the crowd. Pooling under upholstered folding chairs bolted to the floor that would otherwise creak and moan if the audience weren't so still. If the audience weren't so still. Leaving the balcony onto the audience, like a rain feeding a sea, their lives pool together at the base of the stage. Climbing the steps to the stage, drop by crimson drop. And joining us on stage tonight in our global theater are honorable heroes fighting our dishonorable wars. Shining boots and glistening pendants, stiff as boards, standing at attention, stiff as boards, standing at attention. Let us join the orchestra. Let us praise this mighty empire. Voices and torn throats. Broken voices and torn throats. So, with a broken voice tonight, I want to address you as a fellow citizen of Blacksburg. On behalf of myself, my friends, and all other folks in our town who love Palestine and its people, for 5 months we have grieved for Gaza. We have raised our voices online and in the streets. We have called for action from our schools, universities, and other institutions. We have made art about genocide. I repeat, we have made art about genocide. We watch from the sidelines as our elected officials in our local, state, and federal governments have unfortunately shown underwhelming amounts of compassion and overwhelming complicity in Palestine's bombardment and fight for freedom. Today, I want to speak with you as a citizen, a voting, tax-paying member of our republic, and thus, in part, your employer. More than that, I wish to speak with you as a neighbor, a friend, a citizen of humanity, and a fellow human being. We must use our agency and authority together to call for a permanent, immediate ceasefire.
The 3 minutes that each person gets is up, so
Okay.
if you can wrap it up.
Absolutely.
I should have explained, the little stoplight
Okay.
lets you know.
Thank you for a quick extension. I'm almost done. I ask you, Blacksburg citizen to Blacksburg citizen, to draft a ceasefire resolution and join the hundreds of cities and towns across the nation fighting from home for Palestine. Many of us here in the room would be happy and proud to collaborate on a document that calls for the enforcement of an immediate permanent ceasefire in Palestine. Moving forward, we must work together. We refuse to be silenced by or separated from our government or institutions. We demand an immediate ceasefire and restitution to the Palestinian people and their land. Free Palestine, ceasefire now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Lauren, I think you had activities already this evening. Are you going to keep your schedule, or are you going to? Okay. Okay. Yes, please. Your name and address, and I'll explain now what I should have before. The little stoplight starts you on green. The manager hits the button. Yellow lets you know your time. You get 3 minutes, and when it turns red, that time's up.
Thank you. My name is Lena Mayhew. I live at 884 Patrick Henry Drive. I just have a short little speech I want to share with you all. We are not being represented by our representatives. We are taxed and fined and guarded under pretenses and core values that we disagree with. Profit of the ruling class is not our concern. Following in the footsteps of colonizers, imperialists, and bigots is not among our prerogatives. We are people, and we demand a call for ceasefire from our government. We want our town and our institutions to reflect and respect authority. Our democratic officials should desire the same and relish in the support and interests of our community in the decision-making process. Our dollars and dimes help pay for your salaries, and our children grow up alongside yours. Our collective responsibility is to care for each other and care for the land and her resources. We will not be free until our brothers and sisters in Palestine are free. Appalachia will not be free until Gaza is free. Our national leaders are not responding. We must lean on each other and spread our growth and community and ceasefire calls upwards, from the bottom up instead of top down. We, the majority, the poor, the Black, the white, the indigenous, people of color, Muslims, Arabs, queers, the starving and the choking and the suffocating majority should be who makes the decision, not a distant ruling class. Help us, the people, by calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. My name is William Kirschbaum. I am currently a student at Virginia Tech. It is a pleasure and an honor to be addressing this council once more. So, one of the main themes that I've identified in reading through the agenda presented by this council is the use of the issuing of bonds in order to promote the capital budget. This is a vital tool used by this council along with a variety of other government organs to ensure the timely access to us as citizens that we need for our services. And I'm tremendously grateful for this body's movement in accomplishing this goal. However, I do believe that there are some important considerations that must be addressed. As a member of the New River Valley Literacy Program and a volunteer in the community, I do believe that these capital gains budgets must be allocated in such a way that promotes educational opportunity in this community for those whose voices may not be heard on a regular and timely basis. I further believe that education is a vital issue that should be considered for allocation by these capital budgets and should be considered for use by these, by these programs and through these bonds. I furthermore have identified rising rates in terms of sewer access in the consent agenda. And I do believe that this is an important service that must be identified and that certain community members may struggle to pay those extra fees, whether they be small businesses, individual citizens. And I do recognize the need to raise the fees. Like, I think that this board is making an informed decision and I respect the decision. I simply ask as an individual citizen to consider those whose voices may not be heard on that matter and to understand that it may have a disproportionate impact on some. I further believe, once again, that using this capital budget is a vital tool to promoting education and to really ensuring a diverse and well-rounded delivery of services for us as citizens, whether that be on critical issues like climate change, Free Palestine, or a variety of other social movements. I think that using these budgets to create educational, to promoting education, promoting the timely development of infrastructure, and ensuring that access to those resources is equitably granted so that all students, including myself, as well as those in the crowd, have access to the tools that they need to gain access to information so that they can make informed decisions on their own. I do recognize that the capital budget is, while that budget has a variety of uses by this board, I do believe that that is one aspect of the budget where if this board would consider that application, diverting some of those funds towards the programs that I've mentioned, I would be tremendously grateful as an individual citizen. I know that many others would also be grateful. And I would like to finish by thanking each and every one of you for the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. I appreciate y'all's consideration of us and our views, and I am looking forward to continue our work in the future. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
What up, council? I came to you today to ask y'all to support the people in need, the downtrodden and huddled masses in Gaza and Congo. They don't have the structures of mass media, but they do have cell phones. Videos appear daily on social media of this conflict, and frankly, I was sick of it years ago. I had no organization to back myself before, which had given me more confidence to now stand for you all today for human rights. Abstaining from believing in truth from reason and evidence leads to faulty states of mind. I'm inclined to reference horror, but it seems not the time. You must rally for us, and we can survive. Through lies and discontent feels on the rise. We need a just cause to combat the ties of corporate greed and its little guys who flock to the teleprompter, spewing their tries to convince the public their plastic minds and create a phantasm that terrifies. Be critical of proponents of Israeli actions, for they're motivated by free interaction of our tax dollars. I grieve for actions that I'm told haven't happened. You will continue to hear us holler until justice prevails. We all know what free Palestine entails. Support the ceasefire resolution.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but did you give us your name and your address?
My name is Zachary Weiss. I live at 1003 South Main Street, Blacksburg, Virginia.
Thank you.
4060.
Hi, my name is Megan Peterson. I live at 995 Church Street in Christiansburg, but I lived and worked in Blacksburg for years. Family lives here, all of that. I come here as a shopper all the time. So why does it matter if a small town in Southwest Virginia passes a ceasefire resolution? Well, according to the U.S. Army, about 10 miles away from where we stand right now, weapons are being manufactured, the ones that Biden bypassed Congress to approve. And Blacksburg and Virginia Tech have long connections to the U.S. military with the Corps Cadet Program and the Radford Arsenal. It doesn't have to be this way. Our legacy can be not that we manufacture weapons in our community to, commit this unfolding genocide in Palestine. We can also pass a ceasefire resolution, and that could be our legacy instead. I wonder if every day when I pass by the Radford Arsenal, that is the place that the weapons that killed 7-year-old Sidra Hasuna, the girl we saw hanging during the Super Bowl, or Hind Rajab, the 6-year-old girl who pleaded with paramedics to save her, who I listened to her plead for minutes on the phone when she died later, surrounded by her entire family in a car. and then also the other thousands of children that have been killed. So that could be our legacy instead of the weapons, and that's what I would ask you guys to consider today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gwyneth Homer, and I live at 222 Price Street in Blacksburg. I am a local child care worker, lifelong resident of Blacksburg, and it is beautiful getting to witness and contribute to their learning and their growth, and to see their enthusiasm for life itself. And kids will be kids. Sometimes they eat pet food or dirt because they don't know any better, or because they're trying to be silly. Children in Gaza do not have that luxury. They eat dirt and pet food because they have nothing else to eat. Recently, the U.S. airdropped enough food for 37,000 meals, which sounds so generous, but is nowhere near enough to fill 2.3 million hungry bellies. And it becomes insulting when the same benefactor is also providing machinery to slaughter those who are seeking aid. The friends that I work with love big machines. School bus, bulldozer, they're all about it. A visit from a bulldozer is a momentous occasion. A visit from a bulldozer in Palestine? In Palestine, a bulldozer is a weapon used to raze their homes or maim their neighbors. Airplanes are not magnificent flying machines, but flocks of death bringing destruction, terror, and pain. Childbirth is stressful in any country, but at our child care center, it's usually something that we can celebrate. The pain will pass, and we will make funny faces at our newest friend. But women in Gaza can expect no such relief. There's no medicine to ease their labor, nor a safe, clean space to deliver. The mothers are too malnourished to nurse their own babies, so they rely on formula, but that the water that they mix their formula with is contaminated because Israel has bombed their water infrastructure, and their children end up with hepatitis. So what's meant to nourish babies instead makes them sick. To date, 13,000 Palestinian children have been killed and another 17,000 have been orphaned. Our whole county has about 15,000 people under the age of 18. Can you imagine if every one of them became orphaned? We never like to hear children cry, but worse yet is when they don't cry anymore because it's been too long since their needs have been met. Blacksburg cares about children. Recently, we renovated the hand-in-hand playground using input from our families. And whenever there have been ARPA funds available, you've given them to child care workers. Clearly, you value children's lives. So please, we can make a ceasefire resolution to stand with the people of Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vish Gill. I live at 2703 Tall Oaks Drive. I'm 17 years old and I'm a high school senior. I'm here with all my friends. We're all from high school. Some of us are college freshmen. We're not old enough to remember South African apartheid. We're not old enough to remember the Iraq War. We're not old enough to remember Afghanistan, but you are. I want you guys to remember where you were, what you were doing when Bush invaded Iraq. What was going through your mind? What was going through your mind when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison? We will not make the same mistakes that your generation made in 2003, in the 1990s. So you all have a choice right now. You can either stand with justice and morality and support and pass a ceasefire resolution as the town council of Blacksburg, or you can cower in fear and humiliation with the status quo where children are starving to death before our very eyes. I ask, how can any of us stand and watch this? How can any of us watch children's legs being blown off during a sporting event? How can we watch children with debilitating mental conditions starve to death? Toddlers are starving to death in North Gaza, and what do? We go about our lives as usual? No, we will not make the same mistakes that you did. So, again, I ask you, please support the ceasefire resolution. Please pass one. on behalf of the town of Blacksburg. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hear you about how this works exactly.
Feel free to speak up, and that's a microphone in front of you. So, and it'll pick up your voice. We just need your name and your address. And it's perfectly fine if you're from Christiansburg. So somebody here earlier was apologetic, but that's okay. Our clerk keeps track of all the speakers. And so that's why we wish to have that. The little stoplight will start, the manager will hit it when you start to speak. Green, yellow, and then when it turns red, your 3 minutes are over.
Alrighty. My name is Lean Zuby. I live at 907 Laurel Lane, Blacksburg. I am a Virginia Tech student, but first and foremost, before that, I was a Blacksburg resident here. I moved to Blacksburg from the Middle East. I moved by choice. My grandfather is from Hebron, and he had to flee his home a while back, not by choice. When he lived there, he used to tell us that one of his neighbors was Christian, the other one was Jewish, there was another Muslim neighbor. And I didn't really organize this or structure this in a strong way, but I moved here because I believed in what this country stood for. I believed in freedom, pursuit of happiness, and liberty. That's why I decided to move here when I was 16. And I decided to make this town my home. And I believe that I'm here for a reason, because there are people in Gaza that look like me that can't speak to you guys. They don't speak the same language. They, maybe come from a part of the world where their experience is so foreign to people here. But there are people like me that make it across and can tell you guys that they're normal people. They're just like you. They have families, they have kids, they have hopes and dreams. Like me, they want to go to college, or they want to start a business, and they also believe in freedom and the pursuit of happiness and liberty and being able to have their own property and being able to, have rights. And it's very difficult to stand here and see this institution that I fought very hard to be a part of, and to want to believe in the system, and that the will of the people can carry through people like you guys. And that's why I sit up here, not planning to be here at all, to say that, I hope that you hear us, and I hope that you see that there are members of this community that are going to be living here for the next 10, 20 years, as I hope to, hope that we can pass a ceasefire resolution along with hundreds of other towns in the United States that believe in these rights that our country stands for. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it will pick you up.
My name is Helena Huber, 1450 Smithfield Drive, Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm a college student at William & Mary, but I was raised here. I've been here ever since I was 4. I immigrated from Germany, became a citizen recently. And I would like to say, when I went to William & Mary, I met one of my best friends. He taught me how to ollie. We skateboard together all the time. And he also taught me about genocide. He's from Cambodia, and his entire family died from that genocide. The United States did that genocide, and his entire family's dead. And I see it every day in his eyes, because no matter how normal he is, no matter how much he fits in, and when he skateboards with all of us, I can see deep down that he's not okay. And I can't let that happen again. I can't let the United States do that again and again, because someday someone like him is going to thank you that we didn't do this. And I didn't do anything to stop it from happening, because I haven't met anybody, who's really has PTSD from Palestine. I see it all over the internet. But I met him, and you wouldn't believe how it affects him. You would not believe. You see it And everything he does, his whole family's ruined. His mom is depressed and suicidal. She's tried to kill herself a million times. And I cannot let that happen again, over and over and over and over. And you guys have the power to do something about it. I'm just a college student. You guys have been elected to do something about it. And if you don't, you're going to kill people. You are going to kill people. And I hope you can see it in your dreams if you don't do something about it. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. But think about people like him that you could possibly be saving.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Georgia Doremus. I live at 387 Charles Street. I live here in Blacksburg with my family. I'm a new mom. We gave birth to my beautiful daughter who's screaming in the hall about a year ago. And that's why I'm here. You know, like all of you, we've been watching the news. And I recently saw a list from Al Jazeera that had a list of the names of the babies under the age of 1 that were killed since October. And it's 11 pages long in type 10 font. So when we celebrated our daughter's birthday, how could I not mourn for those children? And anybody that is a parent, how can you see this and not say anything? And how can we be silent on this when our tax dollars are going to kill these people? Our weapons made in America are bombing these children. $10 million a day of our tax dollars are going to Israel to kill children. So I know I've spoken to some of y'all, and I know your heart understands this issue, but what I'm hearing is people feel like this council doesn't have any say in international affairs, but I happen to really disagree. I think that we look at President Biden, we look at Congress, we look at the executive branch, and they are so morally corrupt. And they will continue this genocide. Biden even said the other day, he will continue to give Israel as much money as they want. There is no line that they can cross that he will say no. And so that's why I'm asking you, that's why we are coming to you, because y'all actually have an opportunity to have some moral integrity. You're not bought by AIPAC. You're not bought by these other lobbyists. And so we want to see, I want to live in a town where I feel proud to live in a town where we weren't silent during a genocide, where the people are elected leaders, people of you that have more power to speak to Congress than I do, than any of us here. And so we're looking to you to take leadership and to give that moral example that we are never going to see in the presidential space. So I hope that you will really reconsider taking up a resolution and find inspiration in a lot of cities and towns around this country right now that are taking the moral high ground and speaking out against genocide, because we cannot be silent on that. Silence only benefits the oppressor. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle Spinaccio Parker. I live at 2428 Ridge Road in Blacksburg. I'm just going to kind of keep this short and simple. I just wanted to reiterate what my colleague Megan said, in that children, Virginia Tech students, and Radford University students are being poisoned here by the Radford Arsenal to produce the propellants for every bullet fired overseas and to produce the bombs that are being dropped on children in Gaza. Have led to the death of hundreds of thousands of children over there. I'm asking for a ceasefire and also for the end of open burning. And I think that if you guys side with genocide and not with liberation, you will have blood and also pollution on your hands that you will be responsible for cleaning up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council. My name is James McKinley, live at 1604 Bold Spring Circle. I'm going to highlight several specific ways in which you can reduce the impact that the opioid crisis has had on Blacksburg. First, I'm going to inform you of some statistics provided by the Virginia Department of Health. In 2022, 79% of drug overdose deaths involved fentanyl, fentanyl analogs, and tramadol. There were 2,490 drug overdose deaths among Virginians. From 2000 to 2018, the overdose rate per 100,000 increased in Virginia from 6 to 17, a change of 205%. As the former advocacy chair for the Students for Sensible Drug Policy Club, Virginia Tech, I promoted harm reduction, exemplified by the motto, "We neither condone nor condemn drug use." We understand that people will use drugs regardless of the laws that prosecute them. We conducted naloxone trainings, also known as Narcan, with Hokie Wellness and Mike Wade from New River Valley Community Services to help prevent overdoses. As a clinical research assistant in clinic, psychiatry, and behavioral medicine in Roanoke, I read stories of addiction and overdose in Roanoke and Southwest Virginia every day. Carilion administers a dose of naloxone to every patient with opioid use, which often comes in handy from judging by the amount of overdoses as the inpatient charts. The goal of the council should be to promote harm reduction in order to protect the citizens of Blacksburg, the student body of Virginia Tech, and the many visitors that pass through this town from dying a preventable death. The solution is to coordinate with Hokie Wellness, New River Valley Community Services, the Virginia Department of Health, SSDP, and local Virginia Tech clubs, as well as business owners in the area. You can pass ordinances that all public buildings owned by the town of Blacksburg must install naloxone boxes on the wall, similar to a defibrillator or a fire extinguisher. You can also pass ordinances or notice that businesses with public restrooms should install safe, sharp disposal boxes for syringes or other paraphernalia, as well as naloxone on the wall. Sharp disposal containers can prevent those who are changing out trash from getting pricked by needles and getting, infections from those needles, or also overdosing from remaining traces of drugs. Also, you can notice businesses to post statistics on overdoses in bathroom walls, as well as flyers that inform people on the Good Samaritan laws of Virginia that prevent those that assist in an overdose from getting prosecuted, as well as how to use naloxone. Just because naloxone is available over the counter now, thanks to the FDA, that does not mean that users will have it on them at all times or even be aware of it in the first place. And there are a lot more things you can do to prevent overdoses and just addiction in the area. But I think that there are a lot of different organizations in the area doing things, but the town of Blacksburg does definitely have control over public buildings, and they can send out notices to business owners. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment?
Hello, Council. My name's Ahmad El Khairo. I'm an Iraqi-born American.
Can you give us your address too?
Address 1906 Shadow Lake Road, Blacksburg, where they're about to build that obnoxious thing. That's a different topic. I'll keep it short and simple, sweet, kind of blunt. It's a shame that right here in our own backyard, we can't even go fishing and eat the fish out of our river due to the pollution from the arsenal. That's just simple fact. And what is that arsenal providing for? It's providing for war and genocide, wars that we're causing, regardless of what propaganda and media may say to the larger civilian population. Everyone knows it's a resource war. It's pretty blunt. It's right in front of our eyes. A simple ceasefire resolution that Joe Biden could have signed months and months ago, just a signature, just to put an end to this, now has brought a temporary port on Gaza land, on the graves of fathers, mothers, children, to deliver bread for the holy month of Ramadan. No, it's their foot's in the door, as it has been, because it's been created by us here in the U.S. And now they're going to start offshore drilling for that resource and that abundance of oil that is sitting right there. It's just a shame. And I think for us being a beautiful small town with so much potential in agriculture and farming, that we are okay with just what's happening. And it's a simple signature. It's not international politics. It's a simple signature standing in solidarity with so many other communities and states around the world, and it's just growing, and we can be the next ones on that list to take a stand. And if for some reason there was kickback on the town of Blacksburg from Virginia Tech or whatever Zionist movement, your people will stand behind you for making the right decision and putting an end to genocide and speaking up. Thank you.
Thank you.
I live in Christiansburg. Do I still have to do my address?
Yeah, we want to know who you are and where you live, and it is perfectly okay to be speaking to us from a different home place. That's fine.
My name is Tyler Graves. I live on 360 Gold Leaf Drive in Christiansburg. I'm temporarily living in Parisburg. I'm up here just to say that I hope you all will be on the right side of history. I see every day, I see children and their bodies are like mutilated. And I see that and I can't like just sit down and let it happen. I see them and they're crying, and 1-year-old can't get milk. They're starving. There's this boy with cerebral palsy. He died because he was starving. But they're deliberately starving them. Israel is deliberately starving innocent people. There are so many aid trucks, and they won't let them in. Even the citizens won't let them in to feed starving children and mothers and innocent people. I see pictures of Israeli soldiers, and they're just having fun and they're laughing while innocent people are tortured, and they're I saw one. This guy was just like shooting a rocket into. I'm not sure if this was true, but this guy shot a rocket into somebody's house. I saw. This was from a while back. It's Israeli citizens, and they were just sitting and they were watching bombs fly on, innocent people, and they were clapping like it was fireworks or something, and people were dying. I really urge you all to make the right decision, and in 10 years, I hope you can look back and not regret what you've done, and sign a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Johnson Nicholson, and I live on 3450 Evergreen Trail, a little bit out of Blacksburg, but that's our mailing address. On the wall of this room, there is a banner that says "A Special Place for 200 years." And Blacksburg has been a special place for now over 200 years. If you want to be a special place and still be complicit in a genocide, you are being a special place for a very, very wrong reason. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jillian Krinsky. I live at 421 Lee Street here in Blacksburg. Before anything, I'm a person, just like you. Liam, Lauren, Susan, Leslie, Michael, Susan, Jerry, Larry, Lorraine, and Mark. I bet a lot of people may not call you that. There's high school students here. There's college students here. There's people who work here. There's children that live here. There's mothers. There's young children. I am also an urban planning student. One day I want to be on the town council, but how am I supposed to be in a structure or a place that doesn't even take into account the feelings of their own constituents? There should not be so many people here asking you for a ceasefire resolution when you know that it is the right thing to do. Beside me, I have hundreds of people in the university who feel the same way, but are even too scared to do it. Don't be scared. Be on the right side of history, pass a ceasefire resolution, and be the inspiration to me and hundreds of other people who one day want to be what you are doing and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm Megan Crystal. My address is 4775 Longshop Road, but I'm also a student at Virginia Tech, so I'm a townie and a Hokie. I think it's important to consider that Palestinian lives, innocent civilian lives, are these people's experiences and the absolute horror that they have been subjected to on behalf of our tax dollars, on behalf of everything that this country's military-industrial complex stands for, in creating this harm and perpetuating this generational trauma. To recognize that these people are more than just talking points to sit around and discuss and draft things for. And I heavily, heavily encourage you tonight, when you sit down and before you go to bed, to think for a moment what the average child, what the average mother, what the average father, what the average cousin, adult, these people that you care and love for so deeply, these same people who are living in Palestine right now, the kinds of horrors that they are experiencing while we sit and go about our day, and I go to school and I go to class, and all I can think is, how do we amplify pressure? How do we put pressure on the United States government? How do we put pressure on Joe Biden to actually push for a ceasefire and end this ongoing genocide in Gaza? And how do we take a collective action approach in stopping this genocide? And I think one of the first steps is to have small towns like these, like us, like in Blacksburg, to have small towns step up, say, we're not standing for this. This is not what we stand for. Palestinian lives are more than just something to say, oh, that's a shame, go on with my day. Oh, that really sucks. That's kind of bad that that's happening, but there's nothing I can do about it. We are in a very unique position with our town and our University of Virginia Tech here, having so much of our dollars tied up in the U.S. military-industrial complex. We are in a unique position to draft a ceasefire resolution, to say we do not stand for this, to say that these people deserve peace, these people deserve a home, these people deserve a state, these people deserve a livelihood, and they deserve coexistence with their surrounding communities, just like we have here in Blacksburg. So I just would strongly encourage you to take a moment to reflect and also to take into consideration my opinion and also the right side of history, the moral thing to do. So thank you, and please draft the ceasefire resolution.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak during citizen comment? Yes, please, come up. There was somebody behind you, and William, right? I'm happy to hear from you a second time, but let's get it to everybody else one time. Yeah. Sorry. What, you couldn't see behind yourself? Right.
To become a mom or
It'll make my mother proud.
Yeah. I'm not a mom. I'm Charlotte, and I'm not a Palestinian person. I live at 1826 Grayland Street, apartment 4. This feels like the wrong side of history. This feels wrong to me. Like to hear so many people, even Joe Biden just saying it on the State of the Union, 30,000 people are dead. That number doesn't feel real to me. The fact that people don't have what is considered a human right, access to water, clean water infrastructure right now, the UN has declared that that's a human right. I think we need to just all band together and reaffirm that we believe that these people who we have killed are human. I think we need to be human ourselves and maybe just sit with what's going on right now. Just take action in some way. And I don't know much about you guys. This is my first town council meeting, but I'd like to believe in you guys. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. I think you're on.
Should I re-announce my name and my address for the record?
No.
Okay. So to be perfectly frank, I was not aware that there was a Free Palestine petition on the table before I came to this meeting. However, I do believe that I would like to speak on it because this is an issue that does mean a lot to me. And even though I do not have a speech prepared, I'm going to do my best to articulate my mind to the best of my ability from as neutral a position as I can. So I would like to say that Israel was attacked by Hamas. This is undisputed. Thousands of Israelis were killed in an unprovoked attack by their neighbors. This is just the truth. And I believe that there was a military response, as many other states would as well, to the response of their citizens being killed. And that response carries with it devastating consequences, as the protesters here have mentioned. They are absolutely, in the sense that Palestinians over Israeli lives, and I believe that have to be brought into account and must be respected and must be considered. All perspectives need to be considered before any conclusion is reached on a ceasefire agreement. And I may be the only one in the room who believes this. However, I still want to make that statement known. There are many people in this community here and around the world that stand with Israel. Many of your constituents do. And personally, I'm not particularly informed on this conflict. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I watch the news. I try my best to stay informed as a tech student. However, I think that that's something to mention. There are other perspectives in the room, both literally and figuratively speaking back home. And I want to make their voice heard to the best of my ability. And I further think something that must be considered is, the military-industrial complex, is that's a very difficult and controversial thing to decipher. However, many of my extended family are service members, have been for generations. And I personally stand with America's troops, even though I may not agree with everything that they do overseas. And it's not my opinion to comment. But one thing I do want to mention for the sake of the board is to be remembered on the right side of history. I think that is a very important thing to point out. I mean, many other students have mentioned that, is to really understand both perspectives. Please hear out both sides of the story, incorporate their feedback, and then make a decision, an actionable decision that is in line with your heart and with your values, and that is guided by logic and reasoning. And really, regardless of what you decide, I'm going to stand behind you as a representative body of Blacksburg, because I believe in democracy. I believe in the people. Even though everybody here may not agree with what I've said, I'm still going to respect their perspective. And I hope that you will too. And it's been a tremendous honor to be here. And I thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. No, a second time is fine if everyone has had a chance to speak once who would like to do so. Have you not spoken? Yeah. I do want to commend everyone for coming out. It's difficult to speak in public. Most of us don't feel polished about it. And it takes an extra measure of bravery to talk on a topic that is fraught like this.
I'm Allie Eastwood. I live at 1650. I am a 16-year-old Blacksburg High School student, and I think that it speaks volumes that I'm here today to tell you guys to sign the ceasefire agreement and free Palestine, because thousands of children and innocent lives are being taken. And I'm going to keep this short, but it's just not fair. And it's really hard to see a country that I was born in, and Blacksburg, someplace that I consider my home since I was in first grade, not say or do anything when I know that you can. And it's really important to me, and I know you guys should be on the right side of history, and I'd like Blacksburg to be on the right side of history. So that's all I'm going to say, but please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zach Al. I live in.
You'll need to come a little closer to that mic. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Hi. My name is Zach Al, and I live on 504 Sunridge Drive. And I just had a couple of words that I just had to say. So I'm an Iraqi American who has spent most of his life not knowing his father's story. The story of him being a refugee in Saudi Arabia, sleeping on the desert floor for 2 years. The story of my family suffering from the US-backed sanctions during the 90s. The story of his comrades being killed when Saddam Hussein took power in 1979. I come here today speaking in the name of my father and my comrades killed by US-backed imperialistic ambitions. I come here in the name of my father's comrades because I would rather die a martyr than spend the rest of my life in liberal cowardice. And I suggest that you guys do all the same as well, especially in regards to the horrific actions that are going on in Gaza right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
My name is Andrew Walker. I live on 401 Fairfax Road, apartment 1512. I didn't come here with anything to say today because I don't really have a way with words. So I'll try not to repeat anything that people have said today. People try to get aid into Gaza. There's an event that happened recently called the Flower Massacre, where they killed people just trying to meet their basic needs. This wasn't a one-time event. This happens every time. Every time these people try to get their basic needs. Recently, Aaron Bushnell, a U.S. member of the U.S. military, self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy. He was so horrified with the actions that he felt complicit in that he set himself on fire. If he can do that, then the least you can do to help these people is sign a ceasefire resolution. That's all I have to say.
Andy, did you want to? Yep.
Let me get my notes app up. On behalf of everyone here, I did want to thank you guys for listening to our call for a ceasefire resolution this evening. Our anger and our grief are pouring over, and we relish the opportunity to be listened to by our representatives. I wanted to give a call to action to everyone here in the form of a poem I wrote. It's going to be a little shaky. I'm sure you guys have noticed all the lack of dry faces in the audience. So this poem is called Stay Angry, Friends. Stay angry, friends. Peace is on the eastern horizon, and war flees us to the west. Stay strong, friends. Help where you can, and hate only the institutions that enslave us. Stay well, friends. Rest as often as necessary, and hunger only for change. Stay together, friends. Love each other, and futility will flee us. I know a lot of the statements tonight may have come across as angry towards you, but we are just angry at our circumstances, and we really need a change. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out.
So I also wanted to read a poem, but before that, I just want to say there is, you don't need to be an expert on the history of Palestine to know that 31,000 with over 1,000 still buried under rubble, dead, killed by Israel, should not be something that needs to be examined from two sides. It's a genocide. It's explicitly genocide. There have been Israeli ministers, war officials calling actively for the cleansing of Gaza. And I'm here. I'm fasting today for Ramadan. I eat in 5 minutes. I'm here instead because it's that important. And I'm going to get emotional while I read this. This is a poem by Rafat El-Arir, poet who was killed by Israel, I believe in December. And I'm just going to read his poem. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and think for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, and let it be a tale. And I want to encourage you all, if you have the time, on Saturday from 6 to 8, the GLC auditorium on campus, there's a boycott, divestment, and sanctions panel. We're getting some speakers from UC Davis and UCLA, universities who have successfully divested. I know that isn't strictly related to what you guys do, but I think it is very informative, and I encourage you to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Hartley. I live on 1482 Clay Street in Blacksburg. I would just like to speak in support of people who have previously spoken, and also, though, for the record, I would like to dispute what I think his name is William said earlier. Not true. Like in this situation, it's an objective reality, based on material conditions. You know what I'm saying? And passing a ceasefire resolution is very easy to do for you, very simple, and I think it'd be very weak, for you not to pass that simple act. So, anyways, that's all I have. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Yadira Hassan, and I live at 1012 Canyon Ridge Road in Blacksburg. As you know, Gaza has been under siege for many years before this conflict started. There was no food, no water, no medicine coming in. But after the attacks of Israel on Gaza, it became even worse. The siege, there was no more food from the outside, and they destroyed the bakeries from the inside. They destroyed houses. They destroyed hospitals and schools and the people in them. And they were shooting people in the streets, and everything became worse. There were many stories from the suffering of Gazans. There's a lot of starving children, starving people, and babies in hospitals died. A man was stitched, his head was open, and there was no anesthesia. They had to sew his head with a sewing needle. And aid workers, they did it, the bombing was so much that the aid workers found their families under the rubble. They didn't know they would find them there. They were so shocked. So please don't allow this to happen with your choice. You have the power to stop this. Don't use our money, don't use our tax dollars to kill innocent people, and don't be the reason of the death of innocent people. Thank you.
Thank you.
I live at 2803 Oaks Drive. I just wanted to come up really quickly and to just amplify the voices that we've heard speaking, because I know that these are just words to you. They're probably disturbing you a little bit, as they should. Please, please, please allow them to just think about it, and allow them to really get in your body and think about, there are so many people suffering in Gaza, and there's so many people suffering behind me, because we are feeling this so deeply. I'm a high school student, and I think about it every morning. I think about it every day I go to school, and it's hard, to just go about to work, go about to do my homework, thinking about the people my age, people younger, the people so much more older than me who are suffering. So I just really, really, really encourage you, because it's not that hard. Harrisonburg, Virginia just passed a ceasefire resolution, and we are not the first, and I really hope we're not the last. I'm sitting here and looking at Blacksburg, Virginia as a special place. I feel it, and I know that everybody here feels it, and I want us to take that and make it a special place. It needs to be on the right side of history. This is never going to end unless we, as a community, as a society, as a world, stand up against it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak during citizen comments? Seeing no one, I'm going to close citizen comments for now. And do we have unfinished business, council? Not tonight. Our new business for this evening is the introduction of our next year's budget, operating budget.
I'll cover that. So tonight we're introducing the recommended budget for the next fiscal year. We introduce it in the beginning of March. The council holds work sessions throughout March and April, holds a public hearing in April, and then we'll vote at the end of April. And really, if I was to sum things up, the budget this year, we've come out of the pandemic recession that we faced here in Blacksburg, and our revenues are recovering, but we're also facing inflation, just like people are in their personal lives. Things are costing more. The same story for the town. So everything we're doing. So that's the good news. If you want to summarize the budget in a very simple chart, it's $105 million, the proposed budget for the next year. About half of that is the general fund. The general fund is where most of the is funded primarily with various sources. About a quarter of the budget are what we call utility funds. So that's water, sewer, solid waste, and recycling, and stormwater. That's roughly a quarter of the budget, and then roughly a quarter of the budget is the transit fund that operates the Blacksburg transit system, primarily funded by state and federal grants, and then local money coming from student fees and contract fees. So as I said, the total budget is $105 million. If you include capital projects, which vary widely from year to year, it's a 12% increase. But what we like to do to compare operating budget to operating budget from year to year is take the capital projects out, because some years you have millions of dollars in capital projects that you don't have the next year. They're one-time expenses. So when we take those one-time expenses out, it's about a 4% increase overall in the overall operating budget. The general fund portion of that is about a 7% increase when we take out capital and debt. And that is driven primarily by inflationary cost increases. And then we are giving staff pay increases this year. We're also adding some new positions. So that's adding to that percentage as well. We're keeping the property tax rate at 26 cents per $100 of assessed value. We had a reassessment last year, so the value of real estate went up, and then we typically stick with that tax rate for the next 4-year period. So that is flat, and the revenues are relatively flat in real estate too, because the only increases from this year would be from new construction. We are seeing increases in our other revenues, though all of our revenues that are dependent on the economy, meals taxes, lodging taxes, sales taxes, we are projecting increases, continued increases in those revenue sources, as we've seen for the last couple of years. To summarize utilities, the town, we provide water, sewer, solid waste recycling, and then also stormwater. We're seeing some modest increases from both the water authority and the sanitation authority that treat the water and the sewage. So those increases are in the 2 to 3% range. We're not having an increase in the solid waste and recycling fees this year. Their costs are up, but we were able to contain those costs within our current rates. And there's no change proposed to the stormwater fees. So the average utility bill in town will go up about 2%, which is less than what we're seeing in inflation as well. So the budget overall supports, the wide array of town services that we know, that we've known for years. As I said, we're dealing with the economic impacts of inflation on the cost of providing services, but also we're seeing both sides of that. we're seeing growth in our economically sensitive revenues. For example, we have a meals tax. You go out to eat to buy a meal, that meal costs more, so the tax rate on top of that is more as well. So we're seeing some revenues come in due to that. Back to personnel and benefits, after the pandemic, we had, just like a lot of employers did, we had a lot of folks that retired, and then the labor force was disrupted. It was hard to recruit. So we had a lot of vacancies, especially in our larger departments. And overall, across the town, our rates we've been able to recruit new employees. I think we've hired probably up to maybe a third of our workforce in the last couple of years. So we're back at kind of normal levels of vacancy in our employment right now. So really all of our departments are back to normal. The only area we're having a little bit of trouble is the water and sewer crew in our public works department, but we're able to recruit those positions as well. We are going to include a salary and benefit, a salary increase for our employees this year. So we'll do a 3% cost of living July 1st. And then after a performance evaluation, employees will be eligible for a 2% step increase in January of next year. So that's consistent with what other employers are doing. Health insurance is the town's largest benefit cost. And the good news is for the second year in a row, we're not having any increases in health insurance. So that's probably the first year I've been here that we haven't had 2 years in a row, have not had an increase. So that's good news. We do have 7 new positions that we're recommending. So we're looking at 2 new police officer positions. As we know, the community's grown significantly over the last several years, which has put a lot more demands on the police department. So we're adding 2 new positions. They're back up to about full staff now, so we can add 2 positions. We should be able to fill those. They'll help in our patrol division, help out at downtown, especially at night on weekends. We're also adding what we're calling a business relations manager in our housing and community connections department. That position will be the primary liaison to the business community. So for example, if you're interested in opening a small business, that position will help you navigate that process to how to make that happen. They'll also get our downtown facade grant program restarted. They'll work on the retail recruitment program that we're kicking off. We're also looking at creating a retail co-op or a retail incubator in downtown. This position will assist with that. And they'll also work with property owners of vacant properties to try to get those spaces filled. So that's a position that we've talked about for several years, and we're finally able to include it in the budget. We're adding a Parks and Natural Lands Coordinator in Parks and Recreation. As you all know, we've added over 600 acres of new park land up on Brush Mountain over the last several years. So this position will help us manage that land, but also we have over 1,000 acres of parks, and will help manage those properties. And we're starting to do some work with some invasive species removal. We're going to be doing some work with creek restorations, and also working with the groups that are constructing trails up on Brush Mountain currently. We're adding a recreation program associate, which is we have 4 recreation supervisors over different program areas. This associate will help float between those 4 different program areas and help provide assistance to those recreation supervisors. And then we're adding 2 positions in the Public Works Department. The first is a Public Works technician to go out and proactively work on trimming vegetation along our trails and road rights of way. Right now, we do it more on a reactive basis when there's an issue, but this position will be more proactive about that. And we have over 40 miles of trails, just trails that we need to maintain. And then the maintenance specialist too, that will be to get our street sweeper on the street every day. Right now, it's part of our water and sewer crew. We get it out on average once a week. This will get it out every day, which helps with stormwater quality, cleans debris up off the road, but also if you're a cyclist, it helps clean debris out of our bike lanes as well. So those are the 7 new positions that we have proposed in the budget this year. This is just a reminder of the ARPA projects. These is about $13 million in ARPA projects that were awarded. And this is just a reminder that really the top priority for the remainder of this calendar year is to get those projects obligated. We have a federal deadline to have those projects obligated by the end of this year, and then constructed by the end or completed by the end of 2026. So that's a top priority for us this next year. And then this is the schedule that we'll follow. We're presenting the budget tonight. This is a brief overview. We'll have work sessions throughout the month and get into more detail. On March 26th, that's typically, we have a citizen comment period. That's typically when our nonprofit agencies that we provide funding for can come address council. And then we'll hold the public hearing on April 9th, take public comment. And then we typically vote 2 weeks later on April 23rd. And we have a work session in the middle that allows you all to discuss any comments that you hear at the public hearing night. So that's a very quick overview of this document, and really just highlighted the changes. A lot of the base budget is similar to years past, keeps all of our services up and running. But we are seeing, inflationary cost increases, and then we're able to add some new positions this year. So that's what we'll spend most of our time focusing on.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay. Do we have council announcements?
I just have one quick one, and that's, as you all know, it's Women's History Month throughout the nation, but particularly here in Blacksburg, it's Women's Month at Virginia Tech. There's many, many, many different programs that have already happened, but many more still to come this month. You can go to the Women's Center at Virginia Tech website and see the full calendar listing. Again, lots of wonderful programs, and please do check out the website and attend some events.
I have two this evening. I want to first thank staff for all the hard work they put into pulling together this year's budget. Impeccable work, reducing costs for our tax base here, keeping rates the same. I'm also excited that we get to give staff a raise as per usual. And I want to thank everybody who had the courage to come out and speak tonight, especially the young folks in the audience. And I look forward to talking with you directly after we adjourn.
Anybody else? Okay. Seeing no other comments, we are adjourned.